Have you ever wondered why the simple act of turning a key in a lock and hearing the soft click of the door closing behind you feels less like an ending and more like the beginning of your true life? A moment where the heavy armor you wear in the outside world finally drops to the floor and allows you to breathe in a way that feels sacred, private, and profoundly real? There is a quiet mystery in the hearts of those who find their greatest adventures within four walls. A psychological depth that society often mislabels as shyness, laziness, or even social anxiety. Yet when we peel back the layers of the homebody archetype, we find not a desire to hide from the world, but a profound commitment to self-regulation, authenticity, and the preservation of one's internal energy. You might have been told that life happens out there, in the noise of the streets, the chaos of the office, and the relentless hum of social gatherings. But for you, the world is often too loud, too performative, and too demanding of a version of yourself that feels fragmented and borrowed. As we journey into the psychology of the home lover, consider the possibility that your sanctuary is not a prison, but a laboratory of the soul, a place where the brain finally moves out of its survival mode and into its creative mode, allowing for a level of introspection that is impossible to achieve when the eyes of others are constantly upon you. The attraction to the home is rooted in a concept known as environmental congruence, where the physical space around you becomes an extension of your neural architecture, a mirror of your inner peace that provides a level of sensory safety which the unpredictable outside world can never offer. You are likely someone who processes information deeply, a trait often found in high sensitivity individuals who experience the world with the volume turned up to the maximum, meaning that for you, the quiet evening on the sofa is not a lack of activity, but a necessary period of cognitive cooling down, where your nervous system can finally return to a state of homeostasis. There is a certain suspense in the silence of a house at night, a feeling that in the absence of external voices, you can hear the whispers of your own intuition, and it is this connection to the self that makes staying at home an act of radical self-love rather than one of avoidance. Think about the cult of busy that dominates our modern era, a philosophy that suggests your value is tied to your visibility and your output, creating a subtle but persistent pressure to always be on, always be available, and always be participating in the collective spectacle. By choosing to stay home, you are effectively engaging in a quiet revolution, asserting that your time is yours alone and that you do not owe the world your presence at the expense of your peace. From a neurobiological perspective, the outside world is a dopamine-driven landscape filled with novelty, rewards, and the constant stress of social evaluation, which can be exhilarating for some but utterly exhausting for those whose brains are more attuned to acetylcholine, a neurotransmitter linked to calm, reflection, and internal focus. When you are at home, you are not just sitting in a room. You are inhabiting a space where the social monitoring part of your brain, the part that wonders if you look okay, if you said the right thing, or if you are being judged, can finally go offline, allowing your default mode network to take over, which is where your most profound ideas and your truest sense of identity reside. We must also look at the historical and evolutionary context of the safe haven, realizing that for our ancestors, the hearth was the center of the universe, the only place where the guard could be lowered, and that this ancestral memory lives on in you as a deep-seated need for a territory that you control completely. This trust you place in your own space is a form of emotional anchor, providing a sense of permanence in a world that feels increasingly liquid, fast-paced, and fleeting. And it is here that you find the curiosity of the mundane, the ability to find joy in the way the light hits a certain corner of the room, or the comfort of a familiar routine that grounds you. Society may try to pathologize your preference, suggesting that you are missing out on life, but they fail to see the joy of missing out, or JOMO, which is the sophisticated realization that most of what happens in the out there is noise, while what happens in the in here is music. Your home is a microcosm of the universe, where you are the architect, and every object you choose to keep, every color on the wall, and every ritual you perform is a testament to your values and your inner narrative, making the act of nesting a deeply philosophical endeavor. Perhaps the most misunderstood aspect of your mindset is the difference between loneliness and solitude. While the former is a state of lack, the latter is a state of abundance, a way of being alone without being lonely, where your own mind becomes your most cherished companion. There is a subtle suspense in the way you plan your weekends, a secret thrill in the realization that you have no plans, no obligations, and no masks to wear, which creates a sense of freedom that no crowded party or exotic vacation could ever replicate. You are not rejecting people. You are protecting the quality of your interactions, choosing to engage with the world on your own terms and from a place of fullness rather than from a place of social obligation. This deep dive into your psyche reveals that you are likely a person of great internal depth, someone who values quality over quantity, and someone who understands that the most important journey is not the one that takes you across the globe, but the one that takes you into the center of your own being. The suspense of what the world will demand of you tomorrow is mitigated by the certainty of the comfort you have built today, and this predictability is not boring. It is the foundation upon which your mental health and creative spirit are built. We live in an age where extroversion is often treated as the default setting for a successful human, but your preference for the domestic sphere proves that there is another, more reflective way to exist, one that prioritizes the internal over the external and the steady over the flashy. Trust that your need for retreat is a sign of a well-functioning internal compass, a mechanism that tells you when the world has become too much and when the soul needs to return to its origin point. As we explore the attraction of the home, we see it as a liminal space, a threshold between the chaotic public self and the sacred private self, where the air feels different because it is filled with your own thoughts rather than the projections of others. There is no medical advice needed to tell you that honoring your temperament is the key to a long and satisfied life. Rather, it is a philosophical truth that when you stop fighting your nature, you begin to flourish in ways you never thought possible. You are the keeper of your own flame, and that flame burns brightest when it is protected from the winds of social expectation, allowing you to cultivate a life that is not just seen by others, but deeply felt by you. The curiosity you feel about your own mind, the way you can spend hours lost in a book, a hobby, or simply in thought, is a gift that the outside world often lacks the patience to develop, making you a curator of a vanishing art, the art of being still. In the future, as the world becomes even more connected and even more demanding of your attention, your home will become an even more vital sanctuary, a place where you can disconnect from the digital hive and reconnect with the biological reality of your own existence. You are not staying in, you are going deep. And that distinction is the difference between a life lived on the surface and a life lived with profound intention. Feel validated in your choice to close the door, to dim the lights, and to find the universe in the quiet corners of your living room, for it is in these moments of stillness that you are most truly yourself, most truly free, and most truly home. The world will always be there when you choose to step back out, but it can never give you the richness that you have cultivated within yourself during those long, quiet hours of being exactly where you want to be. Your home is the physical manifestation of your psychological boundaries, a sacred geometry that says, here I am safe, here I am known, here I am enough. And there is no greater power than knowing you have a place in this world where the demands of the world cannot reach you. So, the next time you feel that familiar tug of guilt for declining an invitation or for choosing a quiet night in over a loud night out, remember that you are not losing anything, but rather gaining the most precious commodity of all, your own presence. The mystery of the homebody is not a mystery of absence, but a mystery of presence. The presence of mind, the presence of soul, and the presence of a peace that passes all understanding. A peace that can only be found when you finally stop running and realize that everything you were looking for was already waiting for you, right where you are, behind that closed door. This is the psychology of the sanctuary, the wisdom of the walls, and the profound beauty of a life lived from the inside out, where the greatest destination is not a point on a map, but the feeling of your own feet on your own floor, reminding you that you are and have always been exactly where you belong.